You're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Woo!
Indoctrination at its finest. Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So this week, Team Kovalev's promoter, Kathy Duva, they put together a press conference. And the narrative of this press conference was Andre Ward, for whatever reason, Andre Ward, he just decided not to show up. According to Kathy Duva, she didn't know why. She said out of her own mouth, she didn't know if the fight was going to take place. She gave the impression that the fight may or may not happen. It all depends on if Andre Ward wants to fight. So she had everybody in the boxing world wondering and scratching their head, including myself, wondering why Andre Ward didn't show up. Because according to Kathy Duva, she doesn't know, right? She doesn't even know if Andre Ward wants to fight. Can you believe she said all of this to the public, having everyone worried if the fight is going to happen? She's got all these racist people in my comment section sitting over here saying Andre Ward is a bastard, I don't like him, and he doesn't give a damn about the fans, and etc., etc. And Dante, how could you not trash Andre Ward? You need to call it what it is. You know what type of person Andre Ward is. Don't you stand up for him. Just because I said to the fans, you know what? You cannot jump to conclusions. We need to find out what the facts are. All we know is Andre Ward didn't show up, and that was all we knew. And you know, when it comes to myself, I have a great intuition when it comes to a lot of these things that transpire in the sport of boxing. And what I said in my video was, you know, when it comes to Kathy Duva, from some of the things she said in the past, whatever Kathy Duva says, you have to take with a grain of salt. I said this in my video. Before Kathy Duva basically came out with a retraction and told the truth, I said, once again, Kathy Duva, she's kind of like a Bob Arum or a Freddie Roach. She's not always consistent when it comes to what she tells the public. And what she was saying at this press conference was straight out of a DCAF's playbook, which is paint the fighter on the coincidental list as if he is completely yellow. He has a permanent yellow streak going down his back. So in other words, according to a lot of the DCAFs in the media and in the boxing world, period, fighters on a coincidental list are supposed to have this genetic predisposed fear of stepping up and facing tougher competition. I tell you guys all the time, it's the same shit, just different names and different dates. That's different names on the coincidental list. We've seen them do this with Floyd Mayweather. When it was Floyd Mayweather that was reaching out to Manny Pacquiao, when it was Floyd Mayweather walking across a basketball court, taking down Manny Pacquiao's phone number, then later on that night, surprising even Pacquiao and Michael Kantz by going over to Manny Pacquiao's hotel room to make this fight a reality. You know who the public said was still afraid? You know who the public said still had a yellow streak going down his spine? No, it wasn't Manny Pacquiao. It was Floyd Mayweather. That's who they said was afraid and trembling. If you don't believe me, because I want people to understand, when I say decafs, it starts all the way from the top and comes down to the bottom. So what that basically means is it's not just decafs in the comment section. You have people all the way at the top of the game that are decafs. That's why I always tell you guys Jim Lampley is the grand wizard of the decafs, because he was one of those decafs who said after Floyd Mayweather, went over and to Manny Pacquiao's hotel room, it was Jim Lampley who said in an interview, and I believe I'm not sure, but I believe Boxing Eagle actually has an interview. And if I can find it, I may put a clip of it up in this video right here. But Jim Lampley clearly says, when he's asked about the Mayweather-Pacquiao situation, he says the fight is not going to happen. Floyd Mayweather is not going to fight Manny Pacquiao. He's going to fight Miguel Cotto in a rematch, etc., etc. Why? Because he's afraid. Because it's a genetic disposition that you cannot change. They did the same thing in the Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postol negotiations. They said that Terrence Crawford, he was afraid to fight and sign the contract against Victor Postol. And now we have Andre Ward. Same thing. Kathy Duva throwing the red meat to all the decafs. They're eating it up, calling Andre Ward out of his name. He's a coward. He's SOB, son of a bitch. He's this and that. Racial slurs that my channel, by the way, automatically blocks, which I tell you guys, I'm going to put some of those comments up eventually. But once again, when they call Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather, Crawford, and Errol Spence, when they calling them the N-word and all kind of other racial slurs, my YouTube account is automatically set up to filter all of that. So you guys don't see it, but I have thousands of the most racist messages that are in my filter folder that you guys don't see. But YouTube can't catch all of them, so every now and then you guys will see some of those racist messages in the comment section. But anyway, the point I'm making once again, it cannot be a coincidence that Terrence Crawford, Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, and any other fighter you can think of is always the fighter that is accused of being afraid or accused of trying to just sabotage a big event. For no reason at all. He's just accused of trying to sabotage a big event. So after promoter Kathy Duva misleads the public to believing that once again Andre Ward doesn't care about the fans and he's not sure if he wants this fight, he has to shake his fears, etc., etc. We find out later on, the same day, by the way, she said she doesn't know where Andre Ward is and if he wants to fight or not. The same day later on, Kathy Duva, she says, we knew a week ago that Andre Ward wasn't going to show up. You knew this all this time, but you wanted to scare people that the fight wasn't going to happen. You wanted to ruin Andre Ward's reputation. You wanted to have fans believe that Andre Ward, he didn't care about the fans. He's just this coward that's scared to take a challenge, etc., etc. Let me tell you guys something. Kathy Duva, she owes the public an apology. And she owes Team Ward an apology. I mean, if Kathy Duva is a woman of integrity, out and apologize. I know that's not going to happen, but that's what she should do. That's what any person with integrity would do in a situation like this. I mean, what she implied and said about Andre Ward was borderline slander. Do you guys know what slander is? Do you guys know that in a court of law, slander is a big damn deal? Matter of fact, let me go ahead and read to you guys the definition, just in case you don't know what slander is. Slander, the action of a crime of making a false spoken statement damaging to a person's reputation. Like I said, because of what Kathy Duva said about Andre Ward, fans were pouring in with nothing but negative stuff to say about Andre Ward. He doesn't give a shit about his fans, etc., etc., etc. And this is how you know it's not about boxing and it's extremely personal when it comes to these fans and these pundits in the sport of boxing. For one reason, Did anyone notice that there was hardly any boxing articles retracting the statement that Kathy Duva made? For the members of the media that actually wrote an article about Andre Ward not showing up, none of those writers wrote an additional article the next day to basically explain why Andre Ward didn't show up and to explain to the public that Kathy Duva knew Andre Ward wasn't showing up a week before the press conference. Which really means the press conference could have been scheduled for another date entirely, since Kathy Duva already knew that Wednesday or Tuesday wasn't going to be a good day for Andre Ward, right? That's usually what happens. Another reason we know this personal disdain that they have for this fighter on the coincidental list named Andre Ward, we know it's personal because even when you find out these facts that I'm laying out right now, the same fans that were posting all these negative comments about Andre Ward, now when they find out the truth that it wasn't Andre Ward's fault and he had already let Kathy know that he wasn't showing up, none of those people show up in the comment section saying, you know what, it's good to know that Andre Ward, he didn't do this on purpose and I have more respect for him now. There are no comments like that. Now, of course, since I just said that, there'll be one or two, but you're not going to see any comments like that pop up too often. Why? Because it's not about the truth and it's not about boxing. It's about your personal feelings towards fighters on the coincidental list. You don't want to be corrected. You want that to be the narrative. You want that to be factual. You want to believe that this fighter on a coincidental list is just afraid and this and that. Why? Because that helps you alleviate your own personal guilt for what type of person you are deep down. So at the end of the day, Kathy Duva, she needs to be held accountable for her actions. This was unprofessional and offensive in so many ways. So many ways. I mean, imagine if Beyonce, she told the public she was going to have a concert November 19th. But then all of a sudden, her people, they start saying, you know what? I don't even know if Beyonce is going to show up or not. I mean, she act like she doesn't even want to do it. So I don't even know if she's going to show up or not. On top of all of that, her people, her managers and all, they are incapable of putting together a concert of this magnitude. So I just want to let all the fans know right now, don't be surprised if Beyonce doesn't show up the day of the concert. This is pretty much what Kathy Duva just said about Andre Ward. Once again, Kathy Duva, she was basically willing to sink the whole ship just to drown one person. And that person is Andre Ward. You know, when it comes to this situation, this is the reason why I really respect what Al Heyman is doing and everyone that works with Al Heyman, Lou DiBella, even Tom Loeffler. Because Tom Loeffler would never tell people a fight that has already been agreed upon, that both fighters have signed a contract. Tom Loeffler would never say, you know what, I don't know if this fight is going to happen, guys. So if you were expecting to see this fight as great as it is, I don't know if the fight is going to happen. And I'll tell you guys right now, dealing with the other party, it has just been a nightmare, etc., etc. I've never seen Tom Loeffler, Al Heyman, Lou DiBella, or other promoters do things like this, right? It is extremely unprofessional. And once again, going back to my intuition, I told you guys before Kathy Duva made this admission that Andre Ward had already knew about this all along. Before the facts actually came out, I told you guys when I interviewed Kathy Duva, there was a little bit of deception going on where I kept pressing her, asking her about Adonis Stevenson, because she just kept saying, oh yeah, he doesn't want to fight. He's scared. Trust me, it's all his fault and this and that. I said, but elaborate. Explain to me what exactly makes you believe that he's afraid. What did he do in particular, right? Because once again, you know, a lot of times when it comes to a fighter trying to get out of a fight, you'll hear a promoter say stuff like, well, we offered him $1 million and he said, no, give me $8 million. Or you reach out to that team and they hang up on you after about 5 minutes before you can even start discussing a fight. This is usually the type of stuff we hear when someone is really avoiding someone. But when it came to Kathy Duva, like I said, she just kept saying, oh no, trust me, he doesn't want the fight. He does not want the fight. Despite the fact that it was Kathy Duva and Team Kovalev that pulled out of a purse bid to fight against Adonis Stevenson. And then later on, Kathy would say, well, you know, there was really no reason to do the purse bid, because if we were to lose, no matter what would happen, we wouldn't have been able to do the fight. And she attributed that to the conflict of networks. But if you know there will be a conflict of networks and Adonis Stevenson's team, they're not pulling out of a purse bid, but you guys are, doesn't that mean that it's not just Adonis? Doesn't that mean that you're more worried about a network conflict than it being Adonis Stevenson that just doesn't want to fight because he's yellow? Isn't that what that means, Kathy? But once again, Kathy, she wants to paint the picture of these fighters on a coincidental list being afraid. You see what I'm saying? On top of that, once again, if we can get Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather, which was the same situation, Manny Pacquiao was HBO, Floyd was Showtime, there's no reason why we wouldn't have been able to get a Kovalev versus Stevenson situation, or fight, I should say. So when Kathy kept saying, trust me, Adonis is afraid, basically that's what she was saying, I'm paraphrasing, but when she was saying that Adonis is just afraid, etc., 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 and she refused to elaborate and tell the public what really was holding up the fight, she wanted to blame it on one person. So when this whole Andre Ward thing came out, it didn't surprise me because it was very similar to what I've seen her do before. Try to make the fight on the coincidental list look like he is a complete coward and he doesn't care about the boxing fans, but Kovalev, he cares all about the boxing fans. I was also really offended when Sergey Kovalev, he called Adonis Stevenson a monkey, and Kathy Duva, instead of her just coming out and saying, you know what, Kovalev was wrong, but he realizes it was wrong and he'll never do it again. Instead of her saying something like that, when John Pascal said that this man Kovalev is a racist, Kathy Duva, she came out and she attacked John Pascal for saying that Kovalev was a racist. She was like, this is just low down and etc., etc. She's shaking her head with that smile on her face, saying that what Pascal said, now that was offensive. Oh, but Kovalev calling black people monkeys, that wasn't offensive at all. So any person who uses that type of judgment cannot really be trusted. Something else she said that was offensive and very hypocritical is she said that working with Rock Nation, this is what she said yesterday when all of this was going on, when they were making it seem as if Andre Ward just all of a sudden pulled out of the fight. She also said that working with Rock Nation has been a nightmare. And even though there are some good people in Rock Nation, I believe that they are incapable of promoting a fight of this magnitude. This is pretty much what she said. That is extremely offensive to me. It's extremely offensive to me because we already know who runs Rock Nation. It's also offensive because leading up to that day, Kathy Duva, she had nothing negative to say about Rock Nation. She said the fight is signed, there hasn't been any problems, everything went smooth. All of a sudden, she has an opportunity to be honest and just tell the public, don't worry guys, Andre Ward already said he wasn't going to be here, etc., etc. She had an opportunity to be honest, or she had an opportunity to throw Andre Ward and Rock Nation under the bus and make them look as bad as possible. Once again, saying that Rock Nation, it's a nightmare working with them and you know, they're not capable. Once again, man, that's borderline slander right there. So if I was Kathy Duva, I would really be careful, because Kathy Duva, once again, she's not your everyday decaf on the internet. Because see, when you're a decaf on the internet, you can say whatever you want to say and you won't be held accountable because you remain anonymous, right? You can say racist shit, you can say whatever you want to say. But when it comes to decafs that are not hiding on the internet, things are completely different, because now you become held accountable. And that is what is happening with Kathy Duva right now. Something else I want to talk about when it comes to this misleading narrative of certain promoters not being capable of promoting fights of this magnitude. You know, they did the exact same thing with Mayweather Promotions when they were talking about making that Mayweather versus Pacquiao fight. I remember talking to, and once again, man, when it comes to the media, you guys think internet fans of decafs. There are some people in the media that are extreme decafs, and I'll leave it at that. Not all of them. Some of them are knowledgeable boxing fans, but there are some members of the media that are extreme decafs. Okay? So anyway, with that being said, I remember this was like months before the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight came close to being a done deal. And I was talking to a guy who runs one of the biggest websites in boxing. We start talking about Mayweather and Pacquiao and how, you know, Mayweather, he's going to be promoting the fight. You know, he wants Mayweather Promotions to be a part of the promotions. And this guy immediately, he starts spewing so much personal hate. All of a sudden, the expression changed on his face, and he had a look on his face like I was talking about his enemy since he was a child. And all of a sudden, he starts saying to me, well, if Mayweather Promotions is involved, then that's going to be a failure. Because Mayweather Promotions, they have never promoted a fight of this magnitude. So if they're involved, this whole card is going to be a failure. And as we know today, Mayweather versus Pacquiao turned out to not only the fight of the decade, but it turned out to be the biggest, most financial success in boxing history. And you know which promotion team led the event? That's right. It was Mayweather Promotions and Al Heyman that were mainly responsible for putting that fight together. So once again, it all goes back to indoctrination. Try to teach people to not believe what their eyes see and what their ears are actually hearing. Don't believe those cops were beating the shit out of Rodney King. I don't want you to believe, I know that's what you see on the screen, but don't believe it. I want you to believe what I am telling you. Even though you don't see it, Rodney King was actually trying to charge those police officers with his head. I know you don't see it on the screen, but that's actually what's happening right now. And you know, it's funny I tell you guys this, because I remember when this Rodney King case came out, I was a little kid. I was really, really young. And honestly, even though, we see racism everywhere, but I didn't realize the magnitude of racism. I didn't realize how racially divided we were until that Rodney King thing happened, and I was talking to my white friend, because I had a white friend that I used to walk to school with every day. And I remember him telling me, he was like, dude, come on, man. Rodney King, man, he was trying to attack the cops. He did, the cops did nothing wrong, and that's why they were doing that. On top of that, man, he was on drugs and this and this and this and that. That's when I realized there was a serious racial divide. Because for you to say something like that when you just watched it with your own eyes, that is truly what you call not only racism, but indoctrination. To get everyone to believe what you are seeing is not what you are seeing. We see this all the time. We see it in the Alton Sterling shooting, where you have a guy pinned down, cop puts a gun right to the man's chest. While they're pinning down both of his arms, they shoot him and kill him. And this is when the hypnosis comes in, and they tell you, you didn't see that. Look into my eyes. You didn't see that man get shot and murdered in cold blood on camera. I know that's what you're seeing with your eyes, but listen to me. You really didn't see that. Do you follow me? This is how they try to rationalize the ignorance. And the reason why I use those references, because the exact same things happen in boxing. Andre Ward is going on his third fight this year. So far, Andre Ward is more active than fighters like Roman Gonzalez, because Roman has only fought once this year. He's more active than fighters like Manny Pacquiao. But yet, even though we see with our own eyes that Andre Ward is active, they will still try to get you to believe that he is still titled as the inactive fighter, because that inactive word is a code word. Okay? How else do you explain a fighter that's active, but they're still saying, well, the bad thing about Andre Ward, I mean, of course he's great, and if he was active, he would be pound for pound the best fighter in the world, but he's been inactive, right? Even though he's active, they'll sit over here and they'll tell you that he's inactive, right? Just to discredit him. Even though Andre Ward signed a contract, moved up in weight, did exactly what fans asked him to do, already signed a contract, decafs don't want you to believe that the fight is going to happen. So they tell you, don't believe that contract being signed. The fight still is not going to happen. But these are the same decafs that will tell you that Canelo is going to fight Gennady Golovkin. I can't make this shit up. These are the same decafs that were telling us when Canelo Alvarez, when he flexed his arms after the Cotto fight and he said he's ready to fight Golovkin in May following that Cotto fight, these are the same fans that said, oh, he's going to fight him. You guys just need to calm down. He's going to fight him. So you believe that a fighter like Canelo, who has never signed a contract to fight Golovkin, you believe he's going to fight Golovkin, but you don't believe Andre Ward, who actually signed a contract, who is already fighting light heavyweights. You don't believe he's going to fight Kovalev until he gets into the ring. Yeah, we know what time it is. We know what time it is. This indoctrination, this hypnosis, they do the same thing with other people on the coincidental list. Guillermo Rigondeaux. They say Guillermo Rigondeaux is boring. Once again, now Guillermo Rigondeaux, he's knocked out 3 of his last 4 opponents. Guillermo Rigo versus Amagaza was a war. Rigo got knocked down, and then he ended up stopping the much bigger Amagaza later on in that fight. He knocked out another guy in the first or the second round in China. Then he broke Jazza Dickens' jaw with 1 punch. despite you seeing with your own eyes that Rigo is knocking opponents out. Matter of fact, they're so impressed with Rigo's knockout power that now you have decafs accusing him of cheating, which is another code word they use now. If you're dominating everyone and you moved up 5 weight classes and you're fighting guys much bigger like Floyd Mayweather, they're saying, oh yeah, he's great and this and that, or he's good, but he can't knock him out. That's why I don't like him, right? When it comes to Andre Ward, dominant, #1 pound for pound fighter in the world, just like Floyd was, these decafs, they say, oh, but he's boring, right? But then when you're Errol Spence or you're Guillermo Rigondeaux getting knockouts, then they're confused. Then they say, you know what? Oh, fuck it. He's on steroids, right? Because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because at the end of the day, this was never about boxing. Because if it was, all fighters would be treated the same. So they went from calling Guillermo Rigondeaux boring, now they're saying he's on steroids because he's knocking motherfuckers out or he's breaking motherfuckers' jaws with one punch. You damned if you do, you damned if you don't. And we know what time it is at the end of the day. So speaking of the end of the day, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this long video up. And once again, man, Kathy Duva, she really needs to do the right thing. That was really misleading and it was extremely unprofessional to try to mess up someone's reputation just to push some stereotypical agenda of fighters on the coincidental list. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
When Jim Corbett, the man who took the heavyweight title from John L. Sullivan, had displayed some of the same defensive skills as Jack Johnson did, sports writers praised him as the cleverest man in boxing, Gentleman Jim. But when Johnson fought that way, he was said to be lazy, shiftless, showing the yellow streak which all African Americans were supposed to share.
With black boxers, every trait that was a positive trait, they tried to turn it into a negative trait. If a black boxer was tough and could withstand punishment, well, he could withstand punishment because his skull was thicker, because he was insensitive to pain, that it really was a sign of some larger inferiority. If he was a smart boxer, a wily boxer, then he was slightly deceptive, that there was something untrustworthy about his activity in the ring.